met with the president, no? And yes, I accepted the challenge, no? With the objective of transforming the Philippine transport industry to global standards. We need the support of everybody, no? Support of all the players in the industry, no? Those who are into land, air, and water transport.
Our top story tonight, President-elect Marcos Jr. selects businessman and former Philippine Airlines Chief Jaime Bautista to lead the Department of Transportation. It's a tough job to take on as Bautista inherits a transportation crisis marked by rising fuel prices and a public transportation system in disarray.
But he won't be alone in steering the ship for the transport sector. Joining Bautista in the cluster are other key nominees, including ex-LRT Deputy Administrator Cesar Chavez as Undersecretary for Rails, journalist and lawyer Cheloy Garafil as LTFRB Chairman, and businessman Christopher Pastrana as Philippine Ports Authority General Manager. Time for the day's biggest headlines. I'm Gretchen Ho.
I'm Robbie Alampay. You're watching The Big Story. Bring the country's transport industry to global standard levels. That is the challenge Jaime Bautista laid down for himself as he becomes Transportation Secretary.
But he admits it's not going to be easy, as it has been 3 years since he last worked in the transport sector. Marlene Alcaide with The Big Story.
A transport sector in crisis. This is what Jaime Bautista has to face when he takes the helm of the Transportation Department. The former president of flag carrier Philippine Airlines accepted the offer of President-elect Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to fix the Philippines' transportation system.
Today, I met with the president, no? And yes, I accepted the challenge, no? With the objective of transforming the Philippine transport industry to global standards. Really expecting it, but for the country, I am accepting the challenge.
But apart from this, Bautista admits he has yet to craft a plan, especially since he has been out of the industry for almost 3 years since he left PAL in 2019. Still, he called on the public support.
We will need the support of everybody, no? Support of all the players in the industry, no? Those who are into land, air, and water transport.
Bautista will be getting help from other transport appointees. Light Rail Transit Authority Deputy Administrator Cesar Chavez was designated as Rail's Undersecretary. Chavez was credited for the interconnection of LRT Line 1 in Monumento to MRT 3 in North EDSA. Veteran journalist and lawyer attorney Cheloy Garafil was nominated as LTFRB Chairman, while Christopher Chet Pastrana is going to be the General Manager of the Philippine Ports Authority. Two outgoing officials from the DoTr administration were also chosen by Marcos Jr. to join his cabinet. These are outgoing Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III, assigned to chair and be the resident representative designate of the Manila Economic and Cultural Office or MECO, and Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles, who will continue as the Civil Service Commission chair. For News 5, Marlene Alcaide, we are One News.
While we're still on the transport sector, one program that's been providing commuters some reprieve is about to end. Gretch, are the free rides in the MRT really going to end?
Well, that depends on the next administration, Robbie. But you're right, libreng sakay over at MRT3 will end by June 30. MRT3 Director for Operations Michael Capati said that they have no choice but to discontinue the program as the current administration leaves office. Libreng sakay in the MRT started for the whole month of April before being extended for 2 months. But the MRT management is leaving it up to the next administration if they want to continue the program.
Gustuhin man namin kasing i-extend yan, ang aming termino ay kasabay ng pagtapos ng termino ni Presidente Duterte, which is June 30. Anumang extension yan, ibinibigay na namin sa bagong administrasyon kung itutuloy nila o hindi.
These are the other big stories tonight. Have you checked if your favorite fast food chicken meal is still available? While some restaurants are finding it hard to meet demand as supply runs low. Available meat, they say, does not meet standard. The president-elect makes his first public appearance. He returns to his stronghold Cavite, where he won with more than 1 million votes. And big man Sotto hopes to hear his name in Friday's NBA draft. But what are his chances of joining the big league? We find out after the break.
You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. Not only is chicken getting more expensive at 220 pesos a kilo, supply is also running low.
So much so that chicken meals in some fast food joints are also now hard to come by. Shaila Francisco tells us why.
Aling Weng lost over half of her customers in her chicken stall at the Kalayaan Talipapa market. This as prices of chicken went up to 220 pesos per kilo.
Pag hindi namin tatasan ang namin, wala po kaming kita. Paano yung pwesto?
Customers are also trying to make do with what little budget they have.
Kung mamalengke ako yung pang one day na, and then kung may matitira man is yun na, leftovers na siya for next day. Tapos ang gagawin ko lang is dagdag na lang ng ulam kinabukas siguro, gulay or kahit itlog.
The United Broilers Racers Association said that racers reduced their production in anticipation of lower demand after the elections. The high cost of inputs such as feeds are also affecting their production. Because of low quality feeds, sizes of chicken and choice cuts are now smaller.
Mas kukonti yung supply, mas mahal, mas pangit ang quality. Kasi mapipilitan ka dahil kukonti nga yung supply, papatulan.
But it's not just the small eateries that are struggling. We also tried ordering chicken via delivery, but as it turns out, in this specific branch, all of their chicken meals are unavailable. This is also the situation in their other branches and also in other restaurants. In some restaurants, both single and bucket orders of chicken are not available. Some, meanwhile, serve only smaller-sized chicken dishes. In a statement, Resto PH says it may be a supply problem, as other restaurants scramble to buy chicken that meet their specifications. McDonald's Philippines clarified that only select branches have problems with their chicken products. Jollibee assured customers that they will replenish stock soon. The Agriculture Department is still not calling it a shortage.
Do sasabihin po natin na medyo manipis yung ating supply dahil nga doon nagbukas ang merkado.
They are now monitoring if supplies will increase in the coming months as some racers try to expand production. Shaila Francisco, we are One News.
Sakto pala, kumakain ako kanina ng nuggets. Pero gawa sa gulay. Oo.
Talaga. Pero you notice that, di ba? Parang I remember last week we were having dinner and we were really surprised kasi ang liit nung chicken legs. We didn't know if we were imagining it, but that story actually explains a lot. It has something to do with the feeds as well.
Hindi na pala ako pwedeng magsabi sa drive-thru na, uy, big part, big part.
Wala na. Huwag ka nang mamili, pasalamat kang meron.
Yung mga Pinoy pa naman, pagdating sa manok, lahat na mawala, wag lang yung manok namin. Hindi sabungan na.
But anong gagawin ng mga tao? Lahat ng source natin ng protina, nagmamahalan. This is a real food crisis looming. Even agriculture officials are not shirking away from that C word.
Sana lahat nagmamahalan. Now, for those already thinking twice about going out due to the high price of fuel and basically everything else, you might want to take a page from this businessman's playbook.
A rice seller invented a solar-powered cart for his delivery, saving him some much-needed cash. Jenny Dongon with his story.
No gas, no problem. Rice seller RJ Marfa has thought of a way to deliver items without using fuel as oil prices continue to soar. That is through an improvised solar-powered cart. Aside from being solar-powered, it also made out of recycled materials. RJ, who hails from Tanawan, Batangas, said he bought this for 50,000 pesos from a friend who installs solar panels.
Doble ang minahal compare dito sa solar na hindi mo na rin kailangan saksak sa kuryente. Unlike nung ibang e-bike, ipa-plug mo pa sa outlet, babayad ka pa rin sa electric bill. Ito, papark mo lang sa initan.
In terms of speed, the solar-powered cart could go as fast as an ordinary tricycle. It can also be used like a power bank.
Pag brown out, ino-offer ka to sa mga tao dito. Kung gusto nila magpa-charge, dala lang sila ng kable. Pwede mag-charge ng gadgets, cellphone. Pero kung daytime and then peak hours, sunlight, siguro habang may araw, maghapon, magagamit mo siya. Continuous charging while running.
To get it fully charged, it has to be exposed to sunlight for 3 to 4 hours. RJ is confident that he will be able to use the cart for at least 10 years.
Lifetime na huwag lang mababasag, yung mababato. Pagtagal kasi, medyo nababa na yung harvesting niya, efficiency. May nagwa-warranty kasi nito, 10 years Ibig sabihin, guaranteed na 10 years. Within 10 years, minimum magagamit mo siya.
RJ is just one of many Filipinos who resort to using alternatives with oil prices still on the rise. For News 5, Jenny Dongon, we are One News.
Some members of the labor market might get some reprieve. This as domestic helpers in the National Capital Region will see a wage increase. The Regional Wage Board has approved the 1,000 peso salary raise for domestic workers. This brings their monthly minimum wage to 6,000 pesos. The Labor Department said the increase will benefit about 200,000 kasambahays in Metro Manila. Other regions will follow suit. Effective June 25, domestic workers in the Zamboanga Peninsula will see wages rise to 4,000 pesos, while those in Eastern Visayas will see wages rise to 5,000 pesos starting June 27. For Caraga, domestic helpers will get a higher monthly pay of 4,000 pesos by the end of the month. The Department of Labor is urging kasambahays to submit complaints if any employer refuses to implement wage orders. Complainants can go to either the Regional Wage Board office or to the field offices of the Department of Labor.
May rule ang NWPC that non-payment of the prescribed minimum wage ay subject sa penalty. They can simply go to the regional boards to file the complaint or the field offices of the Department of Labor.
For the big story in sports, Judgment Day is upon Filipino big man Kai Sotto as he hopes to hear his name called in the 2022 NBA draft on Friday. The 7'4" Sotto has done all he could to impress teams as he seeks to become the first homegrown Filipino player to be drafted in the NBA. Sotto had workouts with 8 NBA teams, namely the New York Knicks, Orlando Magic, Cleveland Cavaliers, Chicago Bulls, Sacramento Kings, Los Angeles Clippers, Atlanta Hawks, and the Indiana Pacers. Mock draft projections have left out Sotto from the list, but the 20-year-old's agent Joel Bell assured that he will be selected in the second round. Meanwhile, more opportunities to come for Barangay Nebra head coach Tim Cone. After being added to the coaching staff of Gilas Pilipinas, Coach Cone has also been given the opportunity to join the Miami Heat coaching staff for the NBA Summer League. Cone will serve as an assistant coach to Malik Allen, a deputy of Coach Eric Spoelstra in Miami. Coach Cone says he will only be absent for 4 of their games in the Philippine Cup. The Summer League is set to begin right after the NBA draft and will run from July 5 to July 17.
Someone said, well, maybe he's going to get a job with. There is nothing, absolutely nothing. This is truly a guest coaching thing. I'm not being paid. I'm not, I'm coming home. There's no intention for me, and there's certainly no intention for Coach Spo and the Miami Heat.
Big day tomorrow for Kai Sotto.
Coach Tim Cone is trying to manage people's expectations on the one hand for his end, but by tomorrow, it's going to be a very exciting day for Filipino basketball fans. Not just cheering for Kai Sotto, of course, but also this news with Coach Tim Cone.
And also to manage expectations on that. And we were able to talk to Kai Sotto's camp. Sabi nila, 50-50 raw. O kasi syempre, alam naman natin, we are all cheering for Kai Sotto to get in whichever way possible. But if he doesn't make it to the NBA draft or get picked in the NBA draft, marami pa naman siyang ibang paraan, katulad ng two-way contract, yung sa Summer League. O hindi pa tapos nung road niya.
At saka mahalaga dito, I think, the reason people are excited beyond Kai Sotto, beyond Jimmy Alapag, Tim Cone, and so on, is this, at least nasa radar tayo.
Tama.
Diba? It cracks open the door and at least people are taking notice. I remember a coach before telling me, I won't say his name, sabi niya, some scouts were here and they were looking at Kai Sotto, and among other things they said that we don't believe that he's the only one. So I think that's really the big story.
He put us on the map,
yeah,
for
that's
sure.
really the big story in everything, and who knows?
Actually, tinignan ko kanina, ang dami na niyang na-achieve for us. Like yung first ever Filipino homegrown in the Basketball Without Borders. Sa NBL, nagawa na niya mapunta ron. Sa G League din, nakapasok na rin siya doon. So, I mean, whatever happens, he's already made history for us.
Exciting day tomorrow.
Time for another quick break when we return. President-elect Ferdinand Marcos Jr. makes his first public appearance since winning the elections in the 10th anniversary of Bacoor cityhood. And a student from Visayas has created a device to make everyday tasks easier for the visually impaired. His inspiring story after the break. Diokno. A week before his inauguration, President-elect Ferdinand Marcos Jr. makes his first public appearance.
He went to Bacoor in Cavite to celebrate its 10th year of being a city and to also thank the Caviteños who voted for him. Mobile journalist Judy Baiza has this report.
For the first time since he won the election, President-elect Ferdinand Marcos Jr. made his first public appearance, and he chose to do it in the province which carried him in the 2022 polls, Cavite. He was a special guest in 10th cityhood anniversary of Bacoor City. His participation is no happenstance. After all, he chaired the local government committee which passed the law turning Bacoor into a city.
Sinasabi nga ni Senbong at saka si Mayor Lani, sabi niya hindi namin akalain na makakarating ka. At sabi ko naman hindi namang maaari na palampasin ko.
During the 2022 elections, Marcos Jr. won in Cavite with more than 1 million votes, way ahead of closest rival, outgoing Vice President Leni Robredo.
Ako'y nagpapasalamat sa inyo, sa inyong pag-anyaya sa akin. Burger kayong lahat sa amin.
And just like his campaign rhetoric, Marcos Jr. once again called for unity.
Itong ating pangarap na maging mas maayos, mas mapayapa at mas maganda ang ating buhay ay magiging totoo kapag tayo ay nagkaisa.
Marcos Jr. also called on Filipinos to help him as he takes on the responsibility of being a president.
Tulungan niyo po ako. Mahirap po ang ating kailangan gawin. Marami po ang ating kailangan gawin.
The president-in-waiting will take his oath at the National Museum on June 30. Mobile journalist Julie Baiza, We Are One News.
The Bangko Sentral defies calls for more aggressive action to tame inflation and the peso slump as it hiked its policy rate by 25 basis points. No surprises here as incoming BSP Governor Felipe Medalla and outgoing Central Bank Chief Ben Diokno have signaled in the past that they want to take things slow. Medalla earlier this week said it's best to gradually tighten to avoid hurting the economy too much. However, analysts remind that this increase may not be enough to withstand inflation expectations. Meanwhile, BSP also revised its inflation outlook from 4.6%. The BSP raised its forecast this year to 5%. They also raised projections in 2023 from 3.9% to 4.2%. The BSP expects inflation to ease to 3.3% by 2024.
In world news, a U.S. swimmer lost consciousness in the middle of competition at the 2022 FINA Aquatic World Championships in Budapest. Artistic swimmer Anita Alvarez almost drowned after she lost consciousness at the end of her solo free final routine. Good thing her coach, four-time Olympic gold medalist Spaniard Fuentes, quickly jumped into the water to rescue her. Alvarez has had a history of fainting while in competition after she first blacked out during an Olympic qualifying event last year. Doctors will first assess Alvarez before a decision is made on her participation in the event. Sunglasses made for the blind and deaf. That was the creation of a Philippine Science High School student in Central Visayas.
But where exactly did he find the motivation to create the project? Let's get to know more about the creator in mobile journalist Yeta Pascual's report.
Imagine a world where everyone can see. While it may be far from happening, a device created by a teenager from Visayas may just help the visually impaired to navigate the world around them. Meet Philippine Science High School student Von Matthew Valle. The 19-year-old Cebuano invented what may seem as an ordinary pair of sunglasses until it starts processing visual signals around its user.
For example, vision tell me what's in front of me. Tapos sasagot siya ng, I see 10 people, or I see a TV monitor, or I see a chair. Tapos vision tell me the day today. So sasagot siya ng, today is Friday.
The device, aptly called Vision, sends signals if there are persons or objects within the vicinity. Attached to it is a microphone, an audio jack, and earphone sockets, allowing the device to respond to the user. It also has weather and traffic data, as well as facial recognition and video and audio recording.
For safety features as well, if something wrong happened, para siyang dashcam for the blind.
The device is working through 2 batteries. It lasts 6 hours and has a charging time of 20 minutes. The inspiration, according to Von, comes from his blind uncle.
Yung goal ko talaga is just to make as much blind people or visually impaired people benefit from what I started as a hobby. And now na nakaka-benefit siya ng mga lives ng mga blind people that started as an inspiration from my uncle.
Von's device was recognized in a contest back in 2019. Now the DOST and the Philippine Science High School is conducting more training in order to produce more units next year.
Aim talaga namin is to have tech transfer para maka-benefit yung society, para may impact naman yung DOST Philippine Science High School system to community.
Von, meanwhile, is set to take up a degree in electrical and computer engineering at New York University in the coming school year. Mobile journalist Yeda Pascual, We Are One News.
Napakagaling.
Another inspiring story.
Parang kanina nakita natin yung solar na parang golf cart or yung kotse. Ito naman yung for vision for the deaf and the blind. So it's nice, to be able to use technology and to be able to use adversity to create something to help society.
Kahit hindi ka maging NBA player, kahit hindi ka lalaking maging 7-footer, ang mahalaga, may pangarap ka sarili mo, you have vision, no pun intended, and galingan mo, mangarap ka.
Makaka-inspire ka naman. Kaya manood tayo bukas, 8 to 11 a.m. kay Sotto NBA Draft, NBA TV Philippines. Well, that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250.
Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. Mask on.
Wash hands.
And stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Gretchen Ho. We are One News. Have a good evening.